First came the clear-up. Piles of books lay on the ground, caked in dust and bits of masonry, and all of them had to be cleaned up and sorted into the right categories again. Some shelves could be repaired, but many new ones were needed. The wood had to be found, then cut and shaped, before being slotted into place. Repairs were also needed to the walls and ceiling of the library, and heavy rubble cleared from its half-collapsed entrance. Amazingly, when I called Abdul Basit at the secret library via Skype a few weeks after the near miss, all seemed back to normal. Tranquility had returned, and the shelves looked as well stocked as ever. There was even a pile of newly rescued books stacked by Amjad's chair. Some of these, I was told, had been found in a gutted shop only a couple of streets away, while others had been brought to the library by a family nearby. I asked Abdul Basit about the titles that had been given in this way. Smiling, he got up from his chair and walked over to a section of books behind him, brushing his hand gently along the spines of a row of elegantly lettered titles on the middle shelf. "All of these books were donated to the library by my grandfather," he told me. "This one here is one we used to read together. I really enjoyed hearing my grandfather's thoughts on it. It talks about civilization and how this manifests itself across the world. It discusses its effect on humans across time, looking at such things as equality, religious tolerance, and the ethics of war. God bless you, grandfather. I hope we will read together again soon and be happy once more, just like we used to be." Abdul Basit spoke so movingly and personally to his grandfather that I wondered for a moment if he was there in the library with him. He was not. This was clearly another Abdul Basit moment. He speaks in such a poetic way. When we first talked and he told me that his university education had been stopped by the war, I asked him what he'd been studying. Having expected him to say something like philosophy or literature, I was surprised to be told that it was business and economics. He was obviously a man of many talents, and it turned out that one of these was spotting the works of Shakespeare during his book-salvaging missions. On seeing one volume among a bag of freshly rescued volumes, he remembered that it had once been recommended to him by his uncle. The book in question was an Arabic version of Shakespeare's Hamlet, one of his favourite books of all time. A besotted Abdul Basit would often read it during spare moments. "Shakespeare's style of writing is simply beautiful," he told me. "He describes every single scene so vividly that it's like I'm in a cinema watching a film. Among many other things, I adore his wonderful use of metaphors in this story. The play is amazing. It is such a deep and remarkable book that it should be read by everyone, everywhere. Once I started reading it, I just couldn't put the book down. In fact, I became so obsessed with it that I began reading it at the hospital where I work. At first, this only happened during quiet times, but then I began reading it at almost every opportunity. In the end, I said to myself, Abdul Basit, this has to stop. I mean, it just wasn't fair on the patients." Hearing these words made me think of the saying that people around the world have far more in common than the things that set them apart. We may have different religions, languages, houses and clothes, but many of our aspirations, hopes and fears are much the same. Our love of great stories like Hamlet that deal with human nature in all its forms need no translation beyond the language they are told in. The joy Abdul Basit talked of when reading that particular book rang so many bells with me. The fact that Hamlet was set so long ago in a country he had never seen did not in any way lessen his enjoyment of it. Syria, or its antecedents, has also been home to many remarkable writers over the years. The year 64 BC marked the birth of Nicolaus of Damascus, who was to become a revered historian and author. Nicolaus became a close friend of Herod the Great and tutored the children of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. And when it came to putting pen to paper, few were more prolific than Nicolaus. Among his achievements was a history of the world in 144 volumes, several plays, as well as various biographies, and works on subjects as diverse as philosophy and botany. Over 800 years later, in AD 788, came the birth of the poet Abu Tamam. A Christian who later converted to Islam, he is best known for a 10-book anthology of Arabic poetry. It contains more than 800 poems, which Saladin himself, the first Sultan of Egypt and Syria, is said to have learned by heart.